to one and all present here. Very good afternoon to one and all present here in this virtual mode. Thank you for joining us in this Eminent lecture series to celebrate the 75 glorious years of our department. I, on behalf of the Department of Anthropology, University of Delhi, welcome you all. The Department of Anthropology at the University of Delhi was founded in 1947 by Professor P.C. Biswas, a product of the University of Calcutta, with the sole aim of undertaking holistic research and teaching in different aspects of human life. Our department is singularly fortunate to have had stalwarts in all branches of anthropology. Professor I.P. Singh Munga, Professor J.D. Mehra, and Professor S.C. Tiwari were in real terms the founding fathers of the department. This department has been in the forefront in almost all branches of anthropology, be it biological anthropology, sociocultural anthropology, or archaeological anthropology. No other department in India, or rather whole of Asia, can boast of having separate laboratories for cytogenetics, serology, biochemical, molecular genetics, physiological anthropology, dermatographics, forensic anthropology, and visual anthropology. We are equally strong in primate behavior and primate biology studies. Professor Manu Sharma, Professor Raghuveer Singh, Professor P.K. Datta, Professor H.K. Kumrani, Professor P.K. Seth, Professor Sadesh Seth, Professor M.K. Bhasin, Professor A.K. Kalla, Professor Surinder Nath, Professor P.K. Ghosh, Professor S.L. Malik, Professor Satanti Kapoor, Professor A.K. Kapoor, Professor V.R. Rao, and Professor G.K. Kshatriya all made substantive and seminal contributions to the physical anthropology. We have been and are second to none in social anthropology as well. The foundation laid by Professor J.D. Mehra was carried forward by his illustrious successors, Professor J.S. Bhandari, Professor I.S. Marwar, Professor R.S. Maan, Professor Vardesh Channa, Professor Subhadra Channa, Professor Vinay Srivastav, Professor Veena Bhasin, and Professor P.C. Joshi. Who doesn't know Professor D.K. Bhattacharya? All of us read his books and his teaching and hold on the subject of prehistoric archaeology is known to everyone. I joined this department in 1986 when the department had just completed 39 years. I am the 18th head of the department. You will be amused to know that except for the first head of the department, I have been a colleague to all of them. So at least I can claim some first-hand knowledge of the department. We in this department always make efforts to match the vision of the founding fathers of this department, that is enhancing the well-being of the people belonging to diverse cultures and societies in the rapidly changing environments. Currently, we have around 300 students of anthropology in our undergraduate and postgraduate courses and 90 students of MSc Forensic Science. Besides this, we are running a certificate course in forensic science since 1968. We have produced more than 400 PhD holders and a much larger number of MPhil students. The hardworking faculty of the department is currently working on a range of challenging issues related to human growth and nutrition, adaptation, public health, epidemiology, clinical genetics, molecular genetics, epigenetics, primate biology on the one hand, to the study of marginalized societies, issues of displacement and rehabilitation, gender and economic inequalities, and neuropsychological problems on the other. Professor Manoj Kumar Singh is carrying forward the legacy of Professor D.K. Bhattacharya. The department has featured among the top 100 in KOS World University ranking by subject in 2016, 17, and 2019, the only anthropology department of India to achieve this status. Students trained in our department have not only founded various academic departments and centers across the country, but are also carrying forward the exemplary tradition of the University of Delhi therein. Our department has always been the leader with the largest faculty, and I think we still are. We have planned a series of seminars, conferences, and workshops throughout the year, in addition to the Eminent lecture series. Today, as you all know, the very first of these lectures is being delivered by Professor S.L. Malik. Professor Malik and I have been colleagues for 30 long years. I have the first-hand knowledge about his academic caliber and holistic understanding of our great discipline. Dr. Malik is a former professor of anthropology at the University of Delhi. He has served as head of the Department of Anthropology from December 2010 to January 2014. Apart from this, he was also the Vice Chancellor of Deen Dayal Upadhyay, Gorakhpur University. He was honored with many distinctions like University Gold Medal for his academic excellence and has been a Humboldt Fellow at the University of Kiel, Germany. His research interests include human ecology, high altitude adaptation, research methods, human growth, development and nutrition, physiological anthropology, kin anthropometry, and ergonomics. He has received numerous awards, medals, and fellowships, and is a member of many prestigious academic bodies. He has published more than 100 research articles in reputed national and international journals. He has nearly 40 years of teaching experience and has participated in many workshops, seminars, and conferences in India and abroad. He has vast experience as an editor in many reputed journals. He has successfully completed many research projects funded by DU, UGC, and DST. With these words, I once again thank you all for your gracious presence and request Professor Malik to please take the floor. Professor Malik, please.
Thank you, Professor Sachdeva. Respected Professor Sachdeva, Professor Joshi, PC Joshi, other faculty members of the department, alumni of the department, my respected teachers, members of the anthropological fraternity, scholars, my dear students, ladies and gentlemen. I am extremely thankful. First of all, I project my slides. Today, we are celebrating the 75th year, the glorious year of the department. Actually, it is the commencement of 75th year of the department. Department has a very rich history. It is the first department in Northern India and second in India. Heartiest congratulations to one and all responsible to bringing the department to such a high level. The celebration and joy is multiplied as we are commemorating the 75th year of freedom. The department started soon. Just I'll change this, minimize. The celebration and joy is multiplied as we are commemorating the start of the 75th year of freedom of India. The department started soon after India got independence. So our independence of the country and the beginning of the department are co-equal in time. The department claims to have one of the finest faculty, matching the best of anthropological departments of the world. Its teaching program intensely covers various branches of anthropology under a single roof. The research work conducted by the faculty, scholars, and students of the department are published in reputed peer-reviewed journal, national and international journal. They have authored and edited numerous books. Now I'll be talking about my presentation. This presentation is not a research paper, not even a formal lecture, but a narration of my anthropological thoughts. Naturally, it is subjective, and in fact, I do not have an aim or plan to make it objective. On the path to delineate origin and evolution of my anthropological thoughts, I shall be narrating through my anthropological journey. I will be doing through as if I'm doing a journey, anthropological journey, about development of the Department of Anthropology at University of Delhi, progress of anthropology, influence of persons and type of technology, my research focus, and finally, understanding lessons learned from them. By no means, all the topics can be comprehensively covered. So it will be just, presenting part here and a part there, and trying to connect this so that one can have some idea about what I think about anthropology. I will begin. At the age of 16, I entered into an entirely new phase of my life when I joined the Department of Anthropology at Delhi University as a graduate student. New ambience, new subject, unknown persons, all individually and collectively, made me apprehensive and nervous. Hardly did I realize that this was one of the phases of human growth that was nothing but consistently getting adapted to the new challenges and new environment to combat the stresses. At that time, even I did not know that later on these two subjects, namely human growth and human ecology, would become the starting point of my research and would remain fundamental to my academic pursuit throughout my life. Now, I will start with something, where, as I said, from different parts, searching for a PhD topic. I wanted a few things that was innovative, contemporary, and applied was not an easy task. Inspired by the United Nations Conference on the Human Environment held in Stockholm, Sweden in 1972. This is the same year when I passed my post-graduation, 1972. I wanted to work broadly in the field of human ecology, human adaptation to high altitude, the topic which I chose after going through over 200 research articles met most of these requirements. As an anthropologist, I had the skills and training in human growth, nutrition, morphometric characteristics, and basic elements of cultural anthropology. But I was not satisfied with these variables, as adaptation to high altitude could not be appreciated without understanding the role of cardiorespiratory functions to combat the stress of living in the rarefied atmosphere at high altitude. This necessitated learning of physiological techniques and applying them to the explanation of anthropological inquiry. I underwent training at Vallabhbhai Patel Chess Institute of Delhi University for almost 6 months under the expert guidance of Professor Adalji Kumar, and there were other people also, so that the high quality may be maintained in research. This was the beginning of physiological anthropology. Addition of functional variables helped me in better explanation and deeper understanding of adaptation. This was a turning point in my research that transformed my vision of anthropology. As we know that whenever you are trying to do something new, there are certain problems. I will just present some of them. Even data collection was extremely difficult in early 70s. For example, during my PhD, when I wanted to work at high altitude, a permission was required to go to Leh, the area, my field area, from the Ministry of Defense that had all the bureaucratic hurdles. Let me talk about one bureaucratic hurdle, and that will explain what I mean by this. The Ministry of Defense wanted that I should have a character certificate saying that I bear a good moral character. My professors, everyone who knew me, were prepared to give that. But this was required from a person who is higher in rank than DSP from police, or this thing. And when through processing, who was very helpful to me, I went to a DSP, and he says that I've checked your records. You do not have any criminal record. I can give you a certificate that you do not have any criminal record. But how can I give you a certificate stating that you have a good moral character? And without knowing, I cannot give you that. But with my persuasion, he agreed, okay, I'll write that you do not have any records that says that you are a bad character, and hence it can be carried that you have a good moral character. But then he started thinking that this will be very puzzling, and he thought, okay, let me give that he bears a good moral character, and he gave me the this thing. And this is, I'm telling you how the bureaucracy was stopping people not to conduct research at different places. There was almost no hotel in Leh at that time. Now there are many hotels, and staying there required military help. You need to have some military help to get some place to stay. That was not easy. Naturally, military people have their own preferences and restrictions. Getting acclimatized to the rarefied atmosphere, this was again a problem, because one could hardly, because in the first few days you cannot work in high altitude, as all of us know. And working in cold climate, even though it was summer time, for 4-5 months I stayed there, but still with the day very short, and one has to complete all the work, and 0 degree was a normal temperature even in daytime in summer. Then there was no electricity in villages or schools, or even in Leh city, where I established my temporary lab. The electricity was only 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. and to pursue a subject on whom I had taken body measurements in the daytime to travel to Leh city from their homes. Any question? At these late hours required a lot of motivation and persuasion. Why I required electricity? Because my Collins 9-liter respirometer used to work only on electricity. So I had to ask people to come to Leh city to give me cardiorespiratory function test. Even asking subjects to minimize clothes in such a cold climate for taking skin folds required a lot of perseverance. The task of data entry. Now, suppose we have collected data, now it's question of analysis. And because as I proceed, that I was using multivariate analysis and other things, it required some kind of computations. The task of data entry of such a voluminous data. Once again, I'll take you that it is 1974, 1975, when it was, the computers was not that common. The task of data entry of such a voluminous data using punching of cards that the computer would accept was a humongous task. In addition, while giving input to the computer, even if a single card was drawn, the whole sequence was disturbed, leading to syntax error and no result. Again, the error was to be found, the relevant card to be punched again. The punching machines were not available that frequently, so one has to wait for hours to get a punching machine to punch even a single card. Put that in sequence to be resubmitted. The queue of operation was long, and one has to wait several hours, often overnight, to get results. So each type of operation was taking time. Then came, after the data collection, it was to how to assess that whether the population is successfully adapted or not. I searched hundreds of literature, research papers, but I could never find that how the assessment can be done, that this population is adapted to this particular environment or not. Then I made certain things which I thought are important, and I'm going to list in this slide those which I thought were essential to understand the success of adaptation, because this was my focal aim, that whether the people from Leh, namely the Boss of Ladakh, were successfully adapted to the high altitude climate or not. The first thing which you need to require is achievement of body comfort. This means acclimatization. That means that the persons, there may be many kinds of stresses, the multiple stresses can be there, including rarefied atmosphere, the cold, the difficult terrain, and so on. And to all of them, the person should reach the comfort level. That means he should be not feel those stresses that is uncomfortable and cannot carry on, even sit down or do this thing. To give a hint here, that whenever there is a person who is going to high altitude, has to not do any work and do almost take bed rest for 2 to 3 days, and sometimes extended to 4 or 5 days, that so that his body gets acclimatized. But in those who are native to the place, this acclimatization is far better, and we call it natural acclimatization as compared to acquired acclimatization of physiological responses. So the first thing that any population which is adapted to a particular environment should be achieving the body comfort. The second, I'll take up the fourth one first, the power and the precision grip. Sometimes the persons are able to achieve the bodily comfort, but when it is coming to do precise the work which requires power, they are unable to do. That means they cannot carry things, they cannot carry household activities, they cannot go around, and so it is not. Then if without that, it is not a comfort zone. Also precision work, many times people are able to do power work, but when it is question of hand-eye coordination, the mental balance and everything, they are unable to do precision work. So these two works are different kind, and one needs to really do that. The third one is the population growth. That is that demographic and population dynamics have to be examined for that. And in doing so, one has the evaluators. Many evaluators can be taken within this one, that the mortality, and particularly the infant mortality rate, is low, there is low morbidity, and so on. So there are factors which can determine that the fertility is not very low, so that the population growth remains as one would expect. And the fourth and the most important, once again, is the growth and development of the children. That means all the children should grow within their growth channel. Their growth should never not be inhibited in any form, whether it is stunt or wasting. So all these factors, when they meet, we can say that a particular population is adapted to particular environment. And this criteria was taken. The above model was used to assess success of adaptation at high altitude among birds of Ladakh. So this was the first major things which I was thinking that I needed to do. Natural acclimatization was examined by battery of tests, including cardiovascular tests, respiratory functions, and other physiological traits. It was at acclimatization to high altitude was examined by study of body size and growth patterns with the help of body measurement, shape growth ratios, body mass index, etc. For example, body weight and body surface area was used to decipher heat gain and heat loss, in turn delineating adaptation to cold climate. Allow me to explain a little bit. We know that more is the body weight or body mass, then the heat gain is higher, and greater is the body surface area, the heat loss is more. And so their index between body weight and body mass determines that heat gain is more than the heat loss or not. And accordingly, whether the person bigger body size, people find it much more easy to acclimatize to cold climate, and as compared to the smaller or the linear people. So on one hand, it was possible that one can have greater body weight, but then it was an inhibition that if you have bigger body weight or bigger size, then going through and walking through the difficult terrain was a difficult task, and it required more energy, and this was not possible. So there has to be a balance that how the body weight react, and I have done all the analysis in this respect, that how the body weight or the body size or the body surface area, body mass index, at the time when the Pondal index was important, all this, how our body reacts to the different stresses, including the cold. Sometimes they are against each other. Rarefied atmosphere, like that the people should be small, and if the nutritional conditions are poor, the smaller body size is advantageous. If cold is there, bigger body size is advantageous. So what will be the ultimate size would be determined by these multifactorial factors, and that is important to understand. The ability to work requiring power and precision provides a fairly good idea of responses and acclimatization at high altitude. The capacity to maintain population growth with low mortality and morbidity are taken as a sign of adaptation to the harsh environment of high altitude. Now, I'm going to shift a little bit to the next phase. Beginning 80s, now from 1980s, 72 to 80s, I've been working in different parts of high altitude adaptation. And I continue to do till date. I'm still working on these things. Beginning 80s, I felt that the study of impact of man-machine, that is man-made environment and technology, relationship was as crucial as examining the man environment. In this case, environment is the natural environment relationship, and thus deserved similar attention. So there are now two kinds of environment for me. Just like we have abiotic, we also have now the natural environment and the man-made environment. And now I thought that suppose we're living in a house, we are using a technology, we need to also adapt to these things as much as we need to adapt to the cold climate or desert or rarefied atmosphere. Out of the various topics that came to my mind in this domain of research, I selected to work on designing of car seats. I think at that time, even to think designing of car seats was something which was very difficult, because at that time, Ambassador was there and a Fiat was there. They have a bench seat, and nobody thought that they can be improved. It was acceptable to all, because the car users were not many. And to think of that there could be car design, and that too by an anthropologist, was, I think, a matter that people never thought of. For which then I received Alexander von Humboldt Fellowship. I may give some episode here, that in the selection of Humboldt Fellowship, my when they have research programs from, or research fellowships or protocols coming from various people, from physics, chemistry, and so on. But they select every year 3 research proposals, which are different. And that is discussed by the full house of Alexander von Foundation. And my was one of that. This was told to me, but later, after 6 or 8 months, when we were visiting the Humboldt Foundation, we're going around with the Humboldt Foundation people, that this was irrespective of the award they have given, it was discussed that how an anthropologist can think of designing of car seats. And they found out that the Germany was one of the best centers of designing of car seats, because they had Mercedes and other very, very well-known cars, and the Europe was very big center of designing of car seats, and they really appreciated that later on. So I was awarded Humboldt Fellowship and this was the beginning for me for the field of ergonomics. Advancing the knowledge of anthropology was of paramount importance. I was always focusing on the advancement of anthropology. So anthropology has been always crucial. How anthropologists can contribute to the field of economics of safe car seat design, as I've taken here. There are many things which will come in soon. Anthropologists generate information about people, their size, shape, strength, their variation in sex, age, socio-cultural, and ethnic characteristics, their ability to work in extreme conditions, heat, noise, high altitude, vibration, etc. Now the important is their limitation, their ability to handle information and make decisions, and their ability to see, hear, and receive information. These all anthropologists do, but only if they restrict that this is not extended to be applied somewhere. And this was an area where all this information could be applied. With the knowledge of applied, and with this knowledge, applied anthropologists and or ergonomists, you can call by any name you like, ensure that technology adapts to the capabilities and limitations. I am very clear about these two terms here, which I am using: capabilities and limitations. One may have capabilities, but there may be limitations that may not allow your capabilities to flourish. and there may be limitations, and so your capabilities do not matter. So there's capabilities and limitations of the people for the benefit of optimum system. The system may be working, but we need that the system should work optimum. And performance creating, there are three factors which are very important: safe, comfortable, and efficient. So whatever thing we are making, it should be safe to use, long term and the short term. It should be comfortable. That means it should not give any uncomfort or discomfort. And the whole working environment should be efficient. That means if efficiency is lost, we cannot really work on that. So when I returned from Germany to promote the field of ergonomics in anthropology, I adopted three strategies. That is how the anthropological thoughts are now peeping in to me, so that I can really work for anthropology and for my department. Firstly, to popularize the field of ergonomics. That was not so well known. Nobody knew what is this thing. And in fact, I can tell you that Professor Jürgen, with whom I was working in Germany, he told me that, Malik, you are born one generation ahead of time, and people will not be able to appreciate what you are doing today. I said, no, I'll go back to my country and serve my country, because that is, he was trying to offer me certain things. But I said, no, I have come here to learn and serve my country and anthropology in India. So I came back with this proposal. And firstly, my first point was to popularize field of economics that was not so well known. Nowadays, everybody knows about economics, the Godrej or whatever, the matrices are designed ergonomically, and everything is done now. Nobody can escape ergonomics nowadays. But at that time, I'm talking about 1984, that at that time it was not at all known. Secondly, was to add the subject matter of ergonomics in the syllabus of anthropological teaching. Until unless we start teaching, my alone learning about ergonomics was not going to, it would have remained in books. So if make it an exponential, to grow it, it was very important that we should have it is added to the curriculum of anthropology. And that is why I say our department has been a leading center, because we have been always thinking of new things, adding in our curriculum. Our curriculum was the best in the world. Thirdly, was to conduct and guide research in this field. I'll come to this point soon in the next slide, perhaps, that what are the things which we can do. To popularize, I deliver lectures, keynote addresses, inaugural addresses in different institutes, in anthropological institutes and other institutes, in the NGO centers and different conferences. In addition, I can tell you one thing, one here. It was, I think, in Indian Statistical Institute, I was supposed to give a lecture, and I was giving lecture on economics. And, I gave, whatever but the key factors and things like that, and why economics was important. In the evening, there was a party, the casual dinner party. And some of the ladies told me that, those who were the spouses of the professors there, they started asking me that, we have been hearing that you have given a different kind of subject matter in anthropology. Can you tell us what it is? Then I was a little hesitant, but then they were pursuing, so I agreed, okay. Then I gave, what I thought about economics and how it is applied in day-to-day life. To my surprise, when I said, I thought, people will rather appreciate. But suddenly all the professors who had attended my morning lecture, they said, what, doctor, I was not professor at the time, what, Dr. Malik, what are you doing? You were making things so complex in the morning that it was very difficult to understand. And now you have made it so simple that all of us have understood and we can appreciate more. I said, sir, at that time, I was a small fry in, addressing to so well-known professors. And I was a little apprehensive. I was afraid that if I make mistakes, you are going to catch hold of me and tell me that you have not done well. So I had to use all the academic jargons and academic these things and make it complex, make it very research oriented kind of things, so that you appreciate that, okay, this is some field which needs a lot of this thing, a command on multivariate analysis, the computer, the concept, and the innovations, and all these things, came in that lecture. But what lecture I gave was a very simple one: how a kitchen should be designed according to the body size, shape, limitation, as I have mentioned earlier. And it was very easy to explain. So many times you have to be at the where we are addressing the things, we have to be changing our stance. I also delivered lectures in some of the well-known institutes, such as Tata Steel. This was, again, very important that they gave me the opportunity. I'm very thankful to them. And, somebody, what was saying, again, an evening program at 5 o'clock. They had on Wednesday a program where all the engineers would sit over a cup of tea for a chit chat and some kind of lecture, which is should everybody know that. And I was asked to deliver at the tea time to this thing, and they are very free kind of atmosphere. So somebody told me that you are a very good salesman. You should have been in sales and not in in academics, because you are. And I said, yes, I have come here to sell Indica. That was at the time, Tata Indica was the car which was being launched. That I have come here to sell Tata Indica to Mr. Ratan Tata, but with ergonomic viewpoint. And that was the way I was trying to promote ergonomics, because that was in my heart. And these anthropological thoughts I wanted to build up, so that it does not confine ourselves only to academics, but goes around all over the world in different things. I'll come to industries sooner or the later in this discourse. With the help of everyone in the department, kinanthropometry and ergonomics became not only an optional paper in MSc, but an independent lab of ergonomics was established. This was in addition to physiological anthropology lab that started in 1972 with a humble beginning and is now one of the most equipped labs. Please, I would like to make it a point here. I am talking from my viewpoint, and one can understand and expand that for all the labs which are happening. And the introduction of cytogenetics, which become a DNA, molecular anthropological lab. So it is not only one field, even in social anthropology, cultural anthropology. I mean, there are expansion all over. I am confining myself to only what I was involved in. But the whole department collectively, we were doing much more things than what I'm trying to explain. But this can be taken as if one of the examples of the many-faceted department. So department was really on the top of the world. And this is what pleased me every time, that we were helping each other to promote this thing. I am listing here only first to begin with what kind of variety of things which I did in the field of ergonomics. This is, as I said, this was a third point, which was as I was supposed to conduct research work and guide research. So determination of hip point and its application in automobile industry. I think I'll explain only this point, and then because there are all points which are available in print, they are all published works. They are not, it's nothing new which is listed here. So, for example, determination of hip point and its application in automobile industry. Then I'll scan through all of them very quickly. When we design controls in a car, it's not merely the car seat. The car seat is just one of the components, and this, when the person sits on that, the controls are set. There was a SAE mannequin, that is the Society of Automobile Engineers had made a mannequin which was of metal, and they used to put that the mannequin on that seat. And from the hip point at that statue or whatever you can model or whatever you can call it, they used to put the control. Where should be the steering, where should be the gear, where should be the clutch, I mean, distance and everything was determined from that one. And they thought it is a constant. It was not constant. It was moving. And therefore, that was I was able to prove that in reality, that this hip point is not a constant, but will differ from people of different body size and shape. And this came as a surprise to many people in Volkswagen and Mercedes and other centers, that how it is possible that this, we have been always taking it a constant, because if a person is of bigger body weight, then he will be, adapting, and the pressure will be more and the hip point will be at a different point than others. Similarly, I will not now explain every one of them. Quantitative analysis of involuntary movements as a test of discomfort of a car seat, designing of chair, garment designing, work postures, ergonomic implication and human health, subjective assessment of lift postures, and there are 2 times we tried subjective and biomechanical. So there one is very much, subjective is on based on what you think about the lift postures, and other was purely technical based on the biomechanical evaluation of lift postures. That means what would be the pressure at different points, different places, and which posture is better than the other when we lift. And it is not only restricted to lift postures, but also for other work postures. And similarly, then occupational health, impact of stone dust on physiological function and body size. And similarly, how multivariate analysis was used to identify, or by doing factor analysis, which factors are more important than the other was examined. And also, along with the respiratory symptom, distinct respiratory symptoms, that means whether the person has cough, cold. Many times you do not find that the lung functions are declined, but the person may have more cough and things like that. We also did this kind of thing. Then we also worked on morphological impact of AIDS and steel plant, one-machine relationship, human factor information technology, and ergonomic. Last point, perhaps I can talk about, nowadays all of us are using laptop. I'm talking about, say, 15 years ago, I was attending a meeting in IIT, a conference in IIT Delhi, and there the experts had come and they were talking about the modern technology, about how the VDT or the laptops and the desktops can be used, or the monitors can be used. And I had asked them a question: have you assessed what will the impact of this changing technology on human beings? They were a little surprised that we had never thought of this. I think whenever the technology is there, we should first think that if the human beings are going to use that, whether it will be comfortable or not. So we did a lot of work in this field as well to find out how the VDT users will be impacted by use of laptop. Many times now you see that our eyes are affected, our hands are affected because of use of mouse, and so on. The technology will remain changing, and also the impact will also remain changing from time to time. Now, this is basically a field of what I talk about only in the field of economics and occupational health. But my work has been, or passion of work has been in other fields as well. Human ecology, which was my beginning point, adaptation to high altitude, human growth and nutrition, physique and somatotyping, physical fitness and performance, human demography and population dynamics, which I did for high altitude, effect of smoking, ergonomics, which I have already listed, work posture I've listed, given, occupational health. Industrial anthropology will come little later. But let me give an example of human ecology, how the anthropological thoughts can be used in field of human ecology. Human ecology is different from other branches of knowledge which study ecology. The major difference is when we say the ecology, it means the relationship of the environment. I'm putting environment first, on organism, community. These two were used, One was called ecology, other was called synecology. But there was no mention about human ecology, because we neither work on individual or organism, nor we work on the community. We work on population. And so our work was on population. So what is the impact of environment of population was very important. That means it is not an individual, this thing which collectively form the population, but our aim is to study human ecology. And so it was then human population ecology. And human beings have another thing which is very different. The human beings do not have all the impacts of the environment on us, because there is a technology, there is culture, which is a buffer between environment and human beings or the man. And this makes it a different one. It is not like, say, any other animal or any other plant which is directly exposed to environment. We have tried to make a shield. We are living in houses. So whether the outside temperature is there, what is there, it will not affect us to the level that we are inside the house and what is the temperature inside. So the technology has changed the relationship between these two, but I have proven beyond point that even at high altitude, still the environment works. Now, let me cite another example here. That is carrying capacity. I'll make it very brief. The carrying capacity is the number of organism, people, or individual that can survive in a particular environment. This is very crucial in understanding or in environmental studies or ecological studies. It is taken always as a constant. It is true that it is constant for other animals, but it is not constant for human beings. Why it is not constant for human beings? Because with technology, we are able to raise the number of persons that can be supported by environment, because the energy harnessed, we are always increasing. So carrying capacity, rather than becoming a static point or static thing, it is a dynamic. So we need to change the whole concept of understanding human ecology as compared, and we cannot copy paste information from other disciplines like geology or botany, and that this how it works. Similarly, I can talk adaptation of altitude is my passion, human growth and nutrition, for which I've worked throughout my life, physics and somatotyping. Somatotyping, I've started using long back, Heath and Carter method. Its presentations started very early. We have also worked on physical fitness and performance to great extent, that how the different components of physical fitness are important, the strength, the muscular endurance, the cardiorespiratory endurance, which I think it will come somewhere. And all these things are important, human demography, and so on, that we can cover, including the biometrics. Now, I'm coming to some of my collaborators that I always love to work with people. I have the privilege of working as a team with numerous foreign scholars. I'm listing first of all those who I have, with whom I have the publication. And this Professor Hans W. Jürgen, he was my, main partner, mentor, whatever you call in Germany, from whose institute, Industrial Anthropological Institute, I learned more or clarified my concept in economics. K. Helbich was a medical doctor in the same institute. Napoleon Volansky, all of us know the legion figure in Poland and anthropology, having the director of the Anthropological Institute. Professor V.P. Chopra, although he's an Indian distinct, but he's in Germany and works in Hamburg. And Otto Iban, all of us, many of us might have met him. Is from Hungary. Roland Hospi from these people with whom I work, but with whom I have not worked, but who have been able to make my, the concept very clear. Include Professor Paul Baker. Paul T. Baker was pioneer in high altitude studies. Then we have Professor Charles Suzanne from Brussels, Professor J.M. Tanner from England. Then there was Professor J.E. Coates. I can go on listing them, many of them. J.E. Coates was the pioneer in lung functions, and we had the discussion also on in Annals of Anthropology with him. And there are many more, Richard Brooke Thomas, Jared E. Haas, I can go on naming them, and they are all very useful and important. And some of the Indian anthropologists uh, with whom I have publication include Professor I.P. Singh, Professor S.C. Tiwari, Professor Srindanath, Professor Dr. Bhattacharya, Professor Basin, Professor Vinay Srivastava, Dr. Lalit Kashyap, Professor Sachdeva, Professor Saraswati, and many more. I think I'm not listing, I'm not making the list complete. But there are many more people. I will not, cannot name every one of them, from Professor P.C. Joshi, Professor Gautam Kshatriya, Professor Kapoor's, and so on the list. They have all been throughout with me, helping me, Professor Kalla. I mean, all these people have been always a part of my development, and I have this thing. In addition, I have also publication with my students, Professor Mukherjee, Mohinder Prakash, Monica Mittal, Atul Pandey, Anju Swami, Inuka Gakkar, Navneet Trikha, Sima Dabral, Sudita Ghosh, Shwani Chandel, Atoni Datso, Hanit Kaur, and so on. Working with all of them, those who have been listed above or not listed, have been a great experience and beneficial in developing my anthropological thoughts. I've been very little, you can say selfish, that I've been always looking for the development of the department, development of anthropology, more than my development. I thought that if these things develop, so if the society develops, individual automatically develops, and this was the focal aim of my researches at that time. Now, from this, we now move to, and I'll also talk about the students and my co-evals. Also, they have been very helpful in development of my programs. Now, as Professor Sachdeva has listed, so my task, I knew that this will be talked about in detail, so I have made these slides a little smaller because I know that the department is a well-established. But I thought that I must give some brief information. The department was established in 1947 with the efforts of many renowned anthropologists. I will not be able to list all of them, including founder chairman Professor P.C. Vishwas. Now, what could be more fortunate? I was fortunate that the first lecture that I attended in the department was by him. So the person who has been responsible for founding the department is giving you the first lecture. And as Professor Sachdeva just mentioned, that he knows all the, or who has worked with all the, former professor ahead, except one, the first one, I would say that this was, the time when I also had the chance of being his student. Teaching in the department has been excellent right from its inception, as the faculty was knowledgeable, skillful, and well-trained. Many times at that time, the faculty in many departments were knowledgeable and skillful, but they were not well-trained. So most of our teachers have been trained from the well-known institute, whether it is P.C. Vishwas, whether it is Professor I.P. Singh, whether it is Professor S.C. Tiwari, they were trained from best of the institutes. So we are very fortunate that we had teachers who were not only have excellent knowledge, and they were very skillful, they were very well trained. So we can think that, that we have been very well trained. I still remember even the evaluation of PhD program was very, critical in our time. There used to be at least 2 professors from outside India, and therefore the recognition of our research work become global immediately. So now, if you confine all the evaluators from India, you can say, oh, India has very talented people, and we can do that. I can agree, yes. But even with the similar this thing, if it goes, your thesis goes to different departments of the world, then suddenly you find that, okay, Delhi, yeah, I saw a thesis. I met many gentlemen professors outside India. those who had pride in telling us that we have evaluated at one time or the other some of the PhD thesis of the Department of Anthropology at Delhi University. So that makes you global. So rather than being national, you can become international if you send your thesis outside. And I was greatly benefited. The department library, along with the university central library, had most of the needed books. With the passage of time, around late 80s, more and more people started depending on internet. It was at that time very important to have good library, and therefore the department which were rural, which were not well connected, which did not have sufficient funds, would not have the best of teaching because there were no literature available. But now this is not the case. Everybody whosoever wants to learn, internet facilities available in the corner to corner of the nation. One can have the same resources as in the best of the place. So now it is only that this thing is not there. And these resources are either not available at that time, and now they are available. In the 1967, I started a career in anthropology. Department had many well-equipped laboratories. And this again, Professor Sachdeva has talked in detail, so I'll go through them very quickly. Among others, somatometry, craniometry, osteometry, serology, demographics, forensic anthropology, archaeology, primate, and all this comparable with the best in the world. Little later, cytogenetics, biochemical genetics, physiological anthropology laboratories were introduced. Today, the department hosts, in addition to the above, the world-class laboratories of ergonomics, skin anthropometry, molecular anthropology, visual anthropology, forensic anthropology, public and occupational health, epidemiology, and so on. I'm not. The list is not complete, and there are many more laboratories which are there, which are the world-level laboratories. A teaching museum. This was a very useful thing. A teaching museum having archaeological tools, material culture from different communities, primate and paleoanthropological specimen has always been enriching the teaching. In the year 1984, I'm only talking about the landmarks here and there. The department brought the first desktop. It was not easy to convince all the faculty members of its usefulness. Some of the faculty members, though, were convinced that it is a technology of future. They thought it cannot be done today, we can do it future. But today, we don't need it. Soon, many who were earlier reluctant found that how fast and easy it was to store, retrieve, and analyze data. Yeah, why I'm using these words? Today you'll say that, oh, this is very simple, everybody knows. Why are you telling all this? But if you look at 1984, then the things are different. Many still confine their, so I'm talking about that time, to use it as a typewriter that had a provision of storing and retrieving earlier version of text, thereby reducing the workload of typing. They have also felt that editing text was simplified. Today, almost everyone has a laptop, mobile, and electronic gadgets that has increased both efficiency and comfort. Now, the impact of modern technology on teaching. Teaching of anthropology has also changed in the last 54 years. There's a spelling mistake. In the initial period, the teacher used to teach or even dictate notes on the real literature that was difficult to find. There was no photocopy machine, and the learners had to write. Followed this came a phase of transparencies and slides. The diagram and figures were now easy to display and need not to be made on the board, the blackboard or the whiteboard. Then came the era of PowerPoint, where one can arrange text in a variety of ways, display visuals, videos, or films to enrich lectures. How this mechanization has influenced the thought process is how open to debate. Whether all these technology can increase our thought process is difficult, but it is quicker and faster. So advancement in type of technology such as computer and mobile has helped anthropology, like any other discipline, to advance rapidly, if not exponentially. Instruments for taking, this is again important, instruments for taking measurements have also become much smaller, lighter, and efficient. For example, I had a tough time carrying Collins 9-liter respirometer to lay for my PhD work. And this required also use of electricity. It has been replaced by microspirometer that operates with small battery inside. So now it is far easier to work. Suppose I would have gone now, it would have been very easy to collect data. Nowadays, we have watches or mobiles that record, say, during walking, distance covered, speed, calories spent, pulse rate, and so on. The data thus collected could easily comprise and analyze. The data can be collected not only during walking or jogging, but for doing many activities. So it is so useful in physiological anthropology. I wish I had such gadgets a few decades earlier. Research work would have been much easier and faster. In earlier times, even photography was expensive, so it was not possible to take photographs of each and every moment or each and every structure. Now we go on clicking, and get all this thing, and we can analyze data later. Collection of data, their analysis, and collecting information has become easier, faster, and efficient. Converting them into knowledge and wisdom still remains important and difficult. Most importantly, anthropological thoughts are relevant even today as they were in the past. So the technology might have done other things. Let me talk about technology, how it has helped in the next slide. I'm talking about DIKW, model of knowledge management. So we start from data, get information, knowledge, and wisdom. These are the 4 different major steps in understanding of the knowledge management. Earlier, it was the data collection was difficult, information was difficult, knowledge was difficult, and wisdom remained challenging. Now, data collection is easy, information collection is easy, and the knowledge is difficult, and this thing. So we need to focus more on knowledge and wisdom. So if we do not increase our knowledge and wisdom now, that means we have foregone the benefits of data and information. So we have more data, more power to analyze data, and therefore we expect that our knowledge and wisdom should expand exponentially. And what are the things which are in data, information, knowledge, and wisdom? Most of us know, so I'm not going to go into the details of this thing. And data's information, knowledge, and wisdom is known to us, and this is what this thing has been shown. Now I'll be talking certain points to ponder over, and these points to ponder over include, I've taken up the section wise: morphological and physiological, qualitative and quantitative, univariate, and this I'll talk one by one, so I need not take here. First of all, let us start with morphological and physiological. In many anthropological researches, it is pertinent to include the functional aspects than delimiting only to structure. It is prudent in such anthropological researches to cover both morphological and physiological aspects for better explanation. As I've already talked in high altitude, I'll not repeat that in place, along with the body measurements, we need to take cardiorespiratory function as well. Similarly, for studying physical fitness, the study of strength, muscular endurance, cardiorespiratory endurance, flexibility, these are very important, in addition to merely talking